Welcome to Cinema Drinking Buddies. My name is Gio. This is Matt. And today we are almost done with this drink, but this is
This is a Knob Creek New Fashion.
Knob Creek New Fashion.
Cheers.
Today we are reviewing Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Yeah, it's with Gal Gadot and Chris Pine,
Yep.
our main role actors, and it is actually a very good film.
Yes, it was a very good film. And yeah, if you wonder why our drinks are already so low, we were going for about 10 minutes before we realized that we forgot to press record.
We were literally too stupid to insult.
We've already talked about this, but we'll talk about it again.
Yeah, it's just that good, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, this movie was Gal Gadot, Chris Pine. I really liked this movie. I thought Gal Gadot did a really good job in the role. She played the role of the warrior really well. She did well in the action scenes. The only thing I had ever seen her in before this was the Fast and Furious movies, which was, also kind of an action movie. So yeah. I guess that's just kind of a good role type for her. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that this movie focused on these two characters, Diana of the Mascara, I think is how you say it, and Steve Trevor, who were Gal Gadot's and Chris Pine's characters, respectively. But there was these other three guys that were kind of in their group, so to speak, as they were going to the front lines to find Ares. And I really like the fact that this movie actually made you care about the side characters.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get that much screen time or as much attention as the two main characters, but you still knew their stories and you still kind of cared about these characters.
Yeah.
Or at least I did.
And I agree with it. For the amount of screen time that this movie gives those side characters, you would think that, okay, they'll just get lost. But no, you actually remember those side characters. So it's they made that impression to remember them.
Ares.
Yeah.
Who was played by the actor who played Professor Lupin in the Harry Potter movies. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. But that was another thing that I really liked about this movie, because that was something that I wasn't expecting, but looking back on it, it kind of made sense. If you go back and watch the movie, kind of knowing what happens and knowing that this guy is Ares, you can kind of see, I can kind of see a clue here, maybe there. They're not so obvious that it gives it away for a first-time viewer, but there are little small hints here and there.
I've seen this movie before we watched it again, and so I was trying to find out different clues of how it came to be him. And basically the only clue that I saw was the one where they were doing a phone call, and basically Gal Gadot said, he wouldn't want us to go to this location, so he's going to do everything to prevent us to stop him. And then you hear on the phone when they were speaking with him, he basically said, oh no, don't go there. So it's like, oh, okay, well, like looking at back now, it's like, oh, that's him trying to stop him.
Yeah.
So I kind of chuckled.
The only other thing that I could kind of think of was when he showed up at the pub where they were kind of gathering the crew to go on their expedition or mission to the front lines. He shows up, finances the trip for them. He even tells Steve Trevor's secretary, Etta, that she can run the mission out of his office.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this is his way of making sure that this actually happens. Because Trevor didn't have any money to pay those guys. He was basically just asking them for a huge favor. But now that Sir Patrick is going to pay them and finance it, that makes their decision a lot easier. And with Etta being in his office running the mission, that gives him someone there close by to sort of monitor the progress.
Yeah, even though he's a god and he could probably just listen in whenever he wants to. But yeah, I can see that. On Ares' side of it, his plan on what he was doing, I think his plan wasn't necessarily to destroy everything, but more to just bring back what he thought was his. So he did that using Diana, just lead her through a path of seeing everything going on, see all the bad that was going on, so it'll be easier to manipulate her into saying, like, you know what, this is what it is, it's not me, so join me to make this world better by bringing back what was originally ours.
Yeah, just basically showing her that this is just human nature that you were seeing, and he's not the one who's causing it.
Yeah.
The movie starts out with little Diana as a little girl, who's wanting to be this warrior, and her mom is telling her about how she was born. She was sculpted out of clay and then given life by Zeus. So she's, for all intents and purposes, a demigod, and she's been brought up this way. She was told the story about how there was a great war between the gods, and Ares basically killed all the other gods except for Zeus, and Zeus gave his life to basically banish Ares. And in case Ares ever came back, Zeus gave him a god killer weapon for them to, be able to defeat Ares should they ever need to. And Diana is made to believe that this weapon is this sword that they keep in their armory or whatever, but we later learn that she is actually the god killer weapon herself.
Yeah.
Steve Trevor shows up on the island. They learn of the war that's going on, World War I. And Diana at this point says, "Oh, you know what? It was World War I, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah, World War I. And Diana at this point is like, "Oh, this is Ares. I have to go." So she goes with Steve back to London, so that she can be taken to the front to defeat Ares. And they initially think, or at least she initially thinks, that Ares is this General Ludendorff.
I think that's his name.
I think that's how you say his name. So this is the guy that she's after. And this is a guy who is also sort of a, not a detractor, so to speak, but he kind of does his own thing. There's like an armistice that's getting ready to happen, but he doesn't really care about that.
He's working with this other character of building some type of poisonous gas to just release everything and kill everybody. And so Diana attempted to kill him, I think at least once.
Yeah, well, she did kill him.
So trying to kill him the first time, and Steve stopped her, and she got extremely upset, thinking that it was actually her. And then all of a sudden, they released a small portion of the gas and killed
a lot of people.
Yeah, like a whole town.
Whole village.
They were able to track him down. Diana kills him, and then when he kills him, nothing happens. And so she's just so confused. She's like, "No, this war is supposed to stop." And then she starts thinking maybe she was wrong. Maybe everything she was taught growing up was wrong. Steve just basically tries to console her as much as he can and saying, just, these are who people are. And then you find out later it's
Sir Patrick, who up until this time has seemed like he's been trying to help their mission. Yeah, so Ares basically, a lot of villains do to powerful protagonists, they try to get them to join them. He says, join me and we can, make this world a better place together. Obviously, she doesn't, like all good protagonists do.
Yeah.
And they have this big fight. During this fight, she realizes her true potential and is, able to defeat Ares.
You wouldn't see this guy as a god. He's more of like
he's very humble looking.
Yeah.
Humble looking dude.
But when he becomes that persona of Ares, he does a very good job. In my opinion, he does a very good job.
He did a really good job of changing his character from the humble dude to the god of war.
Yeah. And then when he put the armor on, I thought that was a really, really good fasting scene.
I enjoyed her perception of the world. You think about how an outsider, you don't really think about too much of how an outsider looks in on humanity, and all these habits that we have seem perfectly normal to us. But from an outsider looking in, which is what she was, these are kind of some strange practices. Like, she asks Steve about his watch. Yeah. He's like, well, what is it for? He's like, it's to tell time. That way I know when to sleep, when to work, when to eat. She's like, so you let that little device just tell you when to do everything?
Yeah, like you basically let time control your whole life, which is, now we think about it, it's like, that's...
We do.
We don't want it to, but like it's true. Like we use that time to basically control us. When they're going past the trenches and everything, she wants to save everybody. In her mindset, I can save everyone. Even she doesn't know it yet, and they don't know it yet. But there's times where they say, no, there's no time to save them. We have to keep moving forward. So she has to actually leave them, especially like there's a cart scene where a cart's stuck in the mud. And they have to keep moving. They have to get there as quickly as they can. So she has to leave them there when she can help. And so those are like very interesting portions where she's always used to just helping everybody.
Yeah. And then also when they're in the boat going from the Mascara back to London and they're talking about marriage and, she's going to go to sleep and she's asking, well, why don't you sleep here next to me? And he's like, well, I mean, we're not married. And she was like, well, what does that have to do with anything? And he's explaining what marriage is when, two people, agree that they're going to be together forever. And she's like, well, are they together forever? And he's like, well, no, not sometimes. Well, then what's the point? And it's kind of like, again, looking into like, marriages, 50% of marriages don't last or whatever the statistic is. So what's the point? I mean, I can totally see how someone would think that having never like heard of that concept.
And I think she was like kind of pushing him, but she was pushing him in a different mindset. She's like, okay, you're scared of sleeping with women. That's fine. He's like, well, I'm not scared of sleeping with women. Fine, I'll sleep. Yeah. And it just becomes a very awkward situation.
Is this what passes for armor in your country? Looking at that like corset or whatever it was.
The secretary. She was like saying, so what do you do? It's like, well, I take his stuff for him. I mail him stuff and things.
I do whatever he tells me to do.
Yeah, it's like, well, where we come from, that's called a slave. Ooh, I like her.
So in our first take of this video, you mentioned about this drink that you didn't really know what to think of it. What do you think now?
I don't know. I'm still confused by it. Like,
I feel like each sip I took was different.
Yeah, like I like it. I can't say I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I can't say that, oh, wow, this is the best drink, or it's just, I don't know, it's just different.
I don't know if I'd make it again, but it's an interesting drink. It's an interesting combination. Yeah. And at the end of the video, you'll see what all goes into the drink. It's an interesting combination. It's a recipe taken from Knob Creek Bourbon's website. So this is a drink that they recommend. They probably serve in their tasting room and
probably. That, so. I mean, it's probably the cherries. I think the cherries really, really impacts the drink a lot.
Yeah, that was our thoughts on Wonder Woman.
Yep.
So down in the comments, let us know what you think. And this was also our last movie of the month of September.
Oh yeah.
So it's time for us to figure out what our favorite movie of the month was. So this month we've watched The Hunger Games, Spaceballs, Star Trek, the 2009 version, and, of course, Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. So which was your favorite movie of the four?
You know what? This is a very, very hard decision. All those movies were good. All those movies were different in its own way, which makes it that much harder to choose. But I have to say Spaceballs. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just a big fan of that movie. I can quote that movie. I can remember everything about that movie. So that has to be my go-to movie. And that probably be my best movie of the month.
For me, and I think this is the first time we're ever going to disagree.
Ooh.
But for me, I got to say Star Trek. This last time I watched it, I feel like I appreciated it more. And I also got that same feeling with The Hunger Games.
Oh,
absolutely.
I
feel like I appreciated the movie more when we watched it, for our Hunger Games video. But I don't know, Star Trek, I think it's just the fact that the movie was just so well balanced as far as still being original, yet still staying true to what we're used to.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so difficult to do that with anything when you're trying to reboot something, make a sequel, whatever the case may be. Whenever you're doing something new that's based on something that people already know, pleasing everyone as far as, oh, we want it to be new, but we don't want it to just be completely different. I feel like that's really hard to do, and I feel like they just did it really well in that movie.
I agree 100%. They did a good way of incorporating past characters into this movie without just throwing them in there as like, oh, you're a cameo. It's more of like they're part of that story. Even though they are a cameo, they're part of that story.
I'm a big fan of the original series. For me, the original series is the best series.
Yeah.
I think the storytelling in those were amazing. Obviously, the graphics weren't as good as some of the more recent ones, even the Next Generation. But I feel like those were just the best episodes. I gotta say, Spaceballs was a great movie, and of all the movies, that's probably my favorite one to quote. I feel like it may even be the most rewatchable of all the movies. But as far as what my favorite one was, what I got the most joy out of or enjoyment of this month, it was Star Trek. Well, anyway, guys, let us know what your favorite movie was of the ones that we've watched this month. Again, they were The Hunger Games, Spaceballs, Star Trek, and Wonder Woman. Let us know down in the comments, and let us know if you have any suggestions as far as movies we should watch in the future and any drinks we should try. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and call it a video here.
All right. Thank you, and you have yourself a great day.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So in today's video, we drank a Knob Creek New Fashioned. So to make a Knob Creek, you put 1 shot of Knob Creek straight bourbon whiskey, a half a shot of Disaronno or any amaretto that you want to use, another quarter to a third shot of simple syrup for some sweetness, and then we're going to add about 3 dashes of bitters, and then cherries. And you've got yourself a Knob Creek New Fashioned.